What is up? YouTube, how y'all doing, man? Check this out, man. Uncle Mike get real sad when I'm doing a Tupac video, man. Check this out, man. Oh man. I just always imagine what would life be like if Tupac was still alive, because he had the ear of a lot of our youth, and he could have changed the way a lot of us grew up. Check this out right here, man. Here we go.
Humans are not just good and bad, black and white. They're compassionate at times. They're at times. A man can be and compassionate to women at the same time. I was. Look at the lunatic and look at Brenda's Got a Baby.
You satisfied. I don't feel like I've ever embarrassed myself or my people, in nothing that I've done. And yet, I got the whole world fearing me. You know what I'm saying? At 23, weighing 160 pounds. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't even started. I haven't even wrote my plan out yet. And they scared. I got the vice president know who I am, the president, every cop in every city.
Something's happening right now that nobody thought.
Now, what you think about that? Imagine if Tupac, who had everybody's attention, started delivering a positive message to help our youth. And this ain't a race thing. It's just helping our youth to grow up to make wiser decisions and make wiser choices. Where would our world be? Where would our world be? One of the first things I think he would say is, we need to not rely on this government, because a lot of people conspiracy. A lot of people think that the government has something to do with getting rid of him. That's what a lot of people think. What do y'all think? Let's check this out.
You know what I'm saying? And I ain't even started. I haven't even
hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell.
I got the vice president know who I am, the president, every cop in every city.
Yeah.
Something's happening right now that nobody thought we'd ever see. Diddy, the billionaire hitmaker who turned hip-hop into high fashion, is suddenly staring down the same kind of headlines that used to trail the people he made famous. Whispers have turned into warrants, and the FBI isn't just circling anymore. They're naming names. His name. It started quietly, a few rumors online, some old interview clips resurfacing. But within days, the whole thing exploded. Keefe D, the last man alive from the night Shakur was shot, has flipped the script, claiming Diddy wasn't just in the room, he was running the play. If that sounds insane, good, because it gets worse. This isn't nostalgia. This is the moment the game catches up with the man who wrote its rules.
He's 3 law firms on retainer. I don't know how much money is coming in, but I know that a lot of money is going out every single month for Diddy.
The first wave hit like a bomb. Keefe D's trial date got confirmed, and suddenly all those unverified stories from his 2018 interviews started looking a lot more like evidence. We're talking police transcripts, old immunity deals, memoir pages that the FBI reportedly seized straight from his house last summer. He's behind bars, facing the fight of his life, and still feeding details to anyone who'll listen. And these aren't vague hints. He's naming names, painting scenes, describing a plan allegedly brokered over sandwiches at Greenblatt's Deli in Hollywood. According to him, Diddy sat across the table, nervous and sweating, and said he wanted Shakur and Suge Knight gone. Keefe says he threw out a number, $1 million, and Diddy said, handle it. Of course, Diddy's team has always denied every word of it. But when a man like Keefe D starts repeating the same story year after year, to police, to journalists, even under oath, well, people start to listen. And here's where it gets surreal. The more Keefe talks, the worse Diddy's timeline starts to look. Back in 2008, when Keefe first confessed during a plea deal for a substance case, detectives let him walk in exchange for information. Nobody expected him to actually confess to orchestrating one of the most famous shootings in music history. Then he went on
Dummy. You are oh my God. I cannot believe you. I can't believe how dumb people are. Well, they street thugs. They don't realize that the police, the FBI, and these agents are watching them. Do you know what it means in today's world when somebody watching you, they watching your social media platforms too? What makes you think they not?
When Keefe first confessed during a plea deal for a substance case, detectives let him walk in exchange for information. Nobody expected him to actually confess to orchestrating one of the most famous shootings in music history. Then he went on television a decade later, claiming he had cancer and nothing left to lose. That was his reasoning. He wanted to tell the truth before he went. But instead of closing the book, his confessions reopened the entire case. The Las Vegas police said they only moved forward after watching those interviews, and when they raided his home in 2023, they didn't find a gun or cash. They found a book, his own memoir, Compton Street Legend, where he wrote out the whole thing again. Same names, same plot, same hit. Now let's be real. If this were just Keefe's story, maybe people would shrug it off. But this time, the timing is too perfect, or too cursed, depending on who you ask.
You know, it's the idea here is that the state has the burden of proving it beyond a reasonable doubt. We don't think that they can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Also, just to go back a second about what was seized, you know, also what was mentioned was some memorabilia, posters of Tupac and things like that, which we don't really think has a lot of evidentiary value, but you know.
Diddy's already been dragged through one scandal after another. Cassie's explosive lawsuit, the trafficking trial, the Netflix docuseries that basically turned his entire career into a 4-part warning label. His business empire has cracked open. No more C-Rock deals, no more Revolt TV, no billion-dollar aura. And now, while he's fighting to appeal his latest conviction, the same federal agents who raided his homes are reportedly revisiting the one accusation that's always followed him, that he paid to make Shakur disappear. It feels like the universe finally aligned for every buried secret to surface at once. What we're seeing now isn't just the return of an old case, it's a total reversal of power. Diddy built his entire image on control, controlling artists, contracts, optics, even who got to stand next to him in photos. But you can't choreograph a courtroom. And according to insiders, the FBI has started retracing the same path that former LA detective Greg Kading mapped years ago. The same detective who once claimed Diddy offered a bounty for the hit. For years, the story was treated like fan fiction. Now it's being whispered in legal corridors. Kading's conclusion was simple. If Keefe D's confession is real, then Diddy didn't just witness hip-hop's most famous tragedy. He may have orchestrated it.
I believe him, because he wasn't talking just to be talking. I felt he was also coming straight, because there was a big war behind that.
Yeah. I think these people telling the truth, man. I mean, if anything, they probably telling the truth the way they see it. And there might be some little, you ever play that? It's a game where you tell one person something, then they tell the next person. By the time it gets to the end, it's something completely different than what you said in the beginning. But at least it's similar. They all thought they got the right information, especially this guy. He's like one of the first people in the line. He's one of the first people. Suge Knight remembers what happened that night. He was there. Then the guys that was in the car who passed away, you cannot tell me that they was over there trying to off Tupac and the boy that's in jail, Suge Knight. They trying to off both of these people, man, because Diddy offered them money. Period. Now, however you tell the story, that's on you. We wasn't there. That's what Keefe D is saying. Oh, well, we need to lock him back up. Why you think he's still in jail? Man, we got to wake up and smell the coffee, man. He's still in jail.
A war that they lost. I think it was a war that destroyed their neighborhood.
We can't ignore how Keefe describes that night either. He says the crew rolled through Vegas after the Tyson fight, angry and high on revenge because Shakur and his entourage had jumped his nephew Orlando Anderson hours earlier. He claims he handed the Glock to the back seat, didn't pull the trigger himself, but gave the order. Shakur was in the passenger seat of Suge's BMW when the Cadillac pulled up. Keefe says Shakur leaned out the window to talk to some fans, and that one motion sealed his fate. Within seconds, shots rang out. 6 days later, Shakur was gone. Keefe says they ditched the car, poured sparkling drink, and celebrated like it was just another night. The level of casualness in that confession still makes people's skin crawl. And then there's the part that stings the most. According to Keefe, Diddy never paid the money. The deal was $1 million. The street payout was half that, and the Southside Crips allegedly saw nothing. That detail alone has fueled 100 conspiracy threads online. Was the whole thing a setup, a bluff, a panic move that Diddy later regretted? No one knows. But what's wild is how consistent Keefe's story has been. Whether he's talking to police, Netflix, or DJ Vlad, the script barely changes. He even describes Diddy as full of fear, like a man who knew he was playing with fire. The book reads like a confession and a taunt at the same time. Proud and paranoid in equal measure, the internet has exploded with theories. Some say Keefe's just a desperate man trying to trade stories for sympathy before trial. Others believe he's finally doing what everyone else was too scared to do: call out the man who's been protected for decades. And with Diddy already sitting in a federal cell over the trafficking charges, it's easy to see why people are connecting dots. The memes are brutal. The headlines are worse. Every new leak feels like another nail in the coffin of a myth that used to look bulletproof.
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their...
This isn't just gossip anymore. It's the possible unraveling of the biggest mystery in hip-hop. Think about it. For years, the industry built Diddy up as the survivor of the East Coast-West Coast War. Suge went down, Death Row collapsed, Biggie and Shakur were both gone. Diddy came out on top: shiny suits, global hits, luxury brands. He turned tragedy into triumph and left everyone else behind. But what if the survivor was the architect all along? That's the question nobody wanted to say out loud until now. And the most chilling part? Even Suge Knight, locked away for his own crimes, has started to show sympathy for him, telling reporters that he knows how it feels to have no friends left. That's a strange kind of full circle. The two men who built hip-hop's most dangerous rivalry now both behind bars, haunted by the same story. We have to talk about how long the walls have been closing in. The FBI didn't suddenly wake up curious. They've had this case in the background for decades. What's changed is the credibility. When the man in the passenger seat of the Cadillac starts naming the guy from Bad Boy Records as the mastermind, investigators can't pretend it's just music mythology anymore. Keefe D might be messy, but his story is detailed. It matches witness timelines, police reports, even the geography of that Vegas night. Every time he opens his mouth, he adds another layer the internet can't stop dissecting. And now, with the trial scheduled, all those interviews, books, and confessions are being submitted as part of his defense. He's literally using his own words as evidence, daring the court to prove him wrong. Still, we can't forget how deep Diddy's influence ran. Back in the 90s, he wasn't just a producer, he was a gatekeeper.
If you don't mind me asking, right, because I know you and Big Jake was real cool, but I want to ask you, the day he got, can you give me the backstory behind that?
I don't mind at all. By the way, shouts out to Big Jake, you know one of my sons is named after Jake.
He controlled who got radio play, who got tours, who got paid. The idea that someone with that much power could have ties to gang politics was always an open secret, whispered in studios, denied in interviews. Everyone from LA detectives to industry insiders hinted that the East Coast-West Coast War wasn't just about music. It was about ego, money, and territory. And now that the man accused of pulling the strings is facing federal scrutiny again, it feels like all those old alliances and betrayals are being dragged out of the vault. It's also impossible to ignore how the public mood has flipped. Just a few years ago, people were still defending Diddy, calling him a business genius who reinvented hip-hop. Now his name trends next to words like investigation, scandal, and suspect. The timing is brutal. 50 Cent's Netflix series, Sean Combs' The Reckoning, dropped just months before all this resurfaced, and it practically painted Diddy as a walking cautionary tale.
Got it. So you're saying Diddy's an FBI informant, and he's been one for many years.
How would they say? Nothing ever happens, but it's still, like I say, hey.
In hindsight, it feels prophetic. 50's been trolling him for years, but this time, the jokes don't sound funny. They sound like receipts. When a rival who's been calling you out for 2 decades suddenly looks like the truth teller, that's how you know the tide has turned. The wildest part is how quiet Diddy has become. The man who built his empire on noise, on cameras, parties, energy, has gone silent. His lawyers handle the talking now, insisting everything Keefe says is fabricated, designed to extort money from an innocent man. But behind that legal language, there's a growing sense of panic. The old charisma isn't working anymore. The world's not cheering for him. The fans who once danced to I'll Be Missing You are now scrolling through leaked transcripts and side-by-side comparisons of his timeline. It's the digital age's version of a public trial, one that doesn't wait for the court to deliver a verdict. And if we're being honest, that's what makes this moment so magnetic. We're not just watching a case, we're watching the collapse of an icon. Diddy was hip-hop's ultimate survivor, the man who outlasted every scandal.
The man put a lot of out there himself. So whether it's true or it's a lie, he got to answer for that. And whatever his explanation is, we're going to see. But he said.
But now, every past headline feels connected. Every whisper suddenly plausible. The old feuds, the sudden settlements, the endless rumors, it all reads differently when the FBI starts knocking again. This isn't the shiny suit era anymore. This is the reckoning era. And the man who once promised can't stop, won't stop, might finally have hit the one wall he can't dance around. But here's the real question, the one hanging in every thread, every late-night talk show, every group chat dissecting the case. If Keefe D is telling the truth, if his confessions really match what investigators are starting to believe, then this story doesn't just rewrite one night in Las Vegas. It rewrites the entire legacy of a generation. Because if Diddy ordered the hit, even once, then every platinum record, every flashy award show moment, every motivational speech he ever gave was built on a lie. And that's the part that chills everyone. Not just the idea that he might be guilty, but the idea that we all might have been celebrating the wrong man for 30 years. But if that's all true, then who else knew?
Hey, that boy life is dangerous. His life doesn't, he's just not dangerous with they said he was doing, but he's in danger. He knows too much.
And right when we thought the story couldn't twist any further, it did. The same week Keefe D's court filings hit the internet, clips from 50 Cent's Netflix doc started trending again. Clips that for a second felt less like entertainment and more like evidence. We're talking former bodyguards, assistants, and artists, all painting the same picture. Diddy as a man who built an empire not on music, but on manipulation. In one breath, 50 was mocking him online, calling him brother love. And in the next, dropping interviews with people who say his parties were anything but friendly. It's wild because 50's been trolling Diddy for years, but now his sarcasm sounds almost prophetic. Every quote, every post suddenly reads like foreshadowing. It's as if he knew this storm was coming and he was just waiting for the world to catch up. Meanwhile, Suge Knight, yes, Suge, the man who once swore he'd never give Diddy a kind word, has started speaking with this strange mix of pity and recognition from behind bars.
By the rules. You got a lot of people playing both sides of the fence. But at the same time, if your name's Suge Knight, the authorities never gonna treat you fair. My whole case in this case wasn't treated fair.
He told a reporter he feels for Diddy, that nobody understands the cold of those cells until you're in them. That's not sympathy, that's an omen. All three of the main players in hip-hop's most dangerous chapter, Suge, Keefe, and Diddy, now locked up, decades after the blood feud that defined them. What are the odds? It's like some unfinished curse finally came full circle, and people online can't stop pointing it out. Comments are flooded with talk about karma, with fans saying, hip-hop's ghosts finally got their justice. But it doesn't feel like justice yet. It feels like the beginning of something much bigger, like the universe is reopening a case everyone thought had gone cold. Here's the thing about Keefe D. He's not some forgotten gang relic anymore. He's the center of gravity in a story that refuses to fade. And there's a theory floating around, one we can't ignore. Maybe Keefe started talking again because someone wanted him to. Maybe the timing isn't about conscience or cancer or closure. Maybe it's business. Because the only thing more dangerous than a dying man with a story is a system that knows how to use that story for leverage.
There was a great deal of documents that were taken. In Mr. Wilson's initial press conference, he had stated that our client is presumed innocent. And that's obviously a constitutional protection that every defendant enjoys. However, he had said that just recently they had come upon evidence that they felt basically corroborated their theory of the case, and he had made reference.
People close to him have hinted that he's been approached by producers, writers, even so-called truth tellers, offering him money to go deeper. The court filings are public, the interviews are monetized, and the man himself is half martyr, half media property. Every time he opens his mouth, another million views hit YouTube, and another piece of Diddy's empire cracks. And here's where it starts feeling less like coincidence and more like choreography. The lawsuits, the leaks, the documentaries, all landing while Diddy's fighting his federal appeal. How does a 30-year-old confession suddenly matter now? Why does every old detective, every journalist, every disgruntled former employee suddenly have a mic again? A few industry insiders are whispering that there's a silent power struggle behind all of this, that when billion-dollar brands start to rot, people who used to protect you start cashing in on your downfall. Remember, Diddy wasn't just an artist, he was a corporation.
If you add all that type of stuff up, and you'll see how the industry been built on the secret rooms.
And corporations have shareholders, enemies, and skeletons with contracts. What if Keefe's confession isn't the cause, but the weapon? What if someone wanted the legend to crumble right when he's weakest? But then again, maybe this isn't a setup. Maybe it's just time catching up. Look at the pattern. One by one, everyone tied to that Vegas night has either vanished, confessed, or paid the price. Orlando Anderson, gone. Freaky Smith, gone. Zip, gone. Keefe's still here, the last witness standing, like some cursed storyteller dragging the rest of the myth down with him. He even said it himself back in 2018. "I'm the only one alive who can really tell you the story about the Shakur assassination." That line hit different then, sounded like bragging. Now it sounds like a confession written in blood. We keep circling back to the same uncomfortable question. Did Diddy really have the power to pull strings like that, back when he was still dancing through bad boy videos and dodging bullets from his own fame? He was already paranoid after Biggie's passing. He surrounded himself with Crips for security, insiders said, because he didn't trust the system or Suge's people. It's easy to forget how chaotic that world was. The LA and New York rivalry wasn't just record sales and diss tracks. It was actual street armies. Diddy and Suge weren't just producers. They were generals fighting over territory dressed up as culture. When you strip away the music, you're left with a city war disguised as art. And now, decades later, all the generals have fallen.
I'm not the guy who's in for Puffy's downfall, but I am the guy who supports the victims who got victimized.
What makes this even darker is how their legacies overlap. Shakur and Biggie, gone too soon. Suge and Diddy, both in cages. The two kings of opposite coasts, now united by downfall instead of rivalry. The more we dig, the more it feels like there's no such thing as victory in this story. The survivors don't win, they just last longer. And if Keefe's telling the truth, then the game didn't end when Shakur fell. It just went underground, buried beneath contracts, settlements, and silence. Every few years, someone tries to close the chapter, and then a new revelation drags it back open. Even the way this trial is being handled feels theatrical. The prosecutors are quoting Keefe's own book back at him like it's a script, while the defense argues the whole thing's uncorroborated. His lawyer keeps saying, "You can't convict a man based on a story." But the truth is, stories are exactly what convict people in the court of public opinion. And Diddy's story, once about power, glamour, and success, has mutated into something darker. The internet doesn't care about legal nuance. It cares about narrative symmetry. And right now, the symmetry is brutal. Every man who helped build the legend of hip-hop's golden age is paying for it. Suge Knight even joked during a prison call that it's poetic justice. His words, not ours. He said all three of them are where they belong, each facing the ghosts they created. It's a cold thought, but it's the kind of thing that sticks. Especially when you realize that behind every major moment, from the Source Awards to Vegas to Diddy's mansion raids, there's always been a camera, a microphone, and a secret someone swore they'd never tell. Until they did. The strangest part is, we're watching this in real time, decades after the gunfire stopped. A whole generation that wasn't even alive in '96 is now dissecting every rumor like digital detectives. They don't see it as nostalgia. They see it as unfinished business. They're pulling files, comparing interviews, replaying grainy tapes, connecting dots the FBI ignored. And that's the scary part. This case doesn't need a verdict to feel real. It just needs belief. Once the internet decides you're guilty, no appeal can save you. And Diddy knows that better than anyone. That's why the silence hurts him more than the headlines. The same man who used to flood radio stations, award shows, and social media with his voice now can't say a word. Every statement he makes gets twisted. Every denial sounds rehearsed. His world has shrunk from private jets and arenas to courtrooms and holding cells. Every day brings another leak, another story, another piece of the empire falling apart. Maybe it's karma, maybe it's conspiracy, maybe it's both. But either way, the walls are closing in and the music has stopped. Now we're left with the same haunting question that started all of this. Not who fired the shots, but who gave the order. Because if Keefe D's confession is true, if Diddy really placed that $1 million bounty and walked away, then every verse, every hit, every red carpet smile was a cover for something rotten. And if it's not true, if this is all smoke and revenge, then the man who spent his life chasing power is being destroyed by the same myth he built. Either way, the truth won't save anyone now. So what do we believe? Is this the long-delayed justice for Shakur and Biggie, or just another chapter in hip-hop's never-ending blame game? The trial will decide the law, but the culture has already decided the legacy. Drop your thoughts below. Who's really pulling the strings here? We'll be watching, because something tells us this story isn't even close to over. Until then, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, in this game, the truth always finds a beat.
In this game, the truth always finds a beat, man. I believe they have something on. Oh man, I don't even know the man name that's locked up. He didn't pull a trigger. Oh man, sometimes I remember his name. Most time I don't. He didn't pull a trigger. He didn't get paid because Diddy apparently gave the money to somebody else. Keefe D, that's his name. Apparently somebody gave the money to somebody else, but he ended up in jail. And this is street smarts? Nah, I can't. No way. No way. I like my freedom. Love my freedom. So I said all that to say this. I believe him. I believe somebody did it. And all these conspiracies around Diddy, and none of them true. 80 civil cases, y'all. One video leaked of him kicking Cassie down the daggone hallway. Then you got security officer testifying that he bribed them to get the footage. Are y'all getting all this? And the part that kills me the most is you still got people out there saying they did Diddy wrong. He should be free. He should have got time served. Excuse me? Oh my God. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Diddy getting time served? I don't think he got nowhere near enough. That's just me. But he wasn't on trial for that. I don't care about none of that stuff. I don't know how these court systems work. What I care about is right is right, wrong is wrong. Y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell him Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.